Okay, and now on to applying body filler and fixing our thing that we had here. And actually, I've changed my mind. I was gonna get fixing this thing and applying body filler here on camera, but in order to make a really good video, I would have to remove this and then replace it. And I don't really want to do that. It's just not worth it to me on this car. So what I did was actually I made a ding here, and I'm still gonna fix this, but I'm not gonna remove this, and it's just gonna kind of have to work around it. But I won't get that on camera. What we'll get on camera is how to fix the ding I just made here. Yep, took one for the team. As you can see, we've got a ding there. There's an indentation in here, and actually, if you run your hand across it, you can feel it. This little circle here is dented in. Not the biggest of dents, but if you get, like, let's say, a deeper dent than this, this procedure will still work. If you have like a really deep dent, the edges around the dent are gonna be higher. You're gonna have high areas, and then you will have to tap those in. I'll show you what I mean later, but for now, for starters, so in order to get this ready for body filler, we can't apply body filler on top of paint. It's just not a good, it's not gonna bond well with this glossy finish. So we're just gonna have to sand this all the way down to metal, bare metal, this whole area, and we're gonna use probably 80 grit sandpaper is probably the best thing to use. Okay, so we got our 80 grit sandpaper on our firm sanding block, and we're ready to sand this down to bare metal. Just for people that are not familiar with what each grit means for sandpapers, basically the lower the grit number, the coarser the sandpaper. Okay, and in order to get this panel ready to spray our base coat on, we're going to, the area that the base coat goes needs to be up to 400 or 500 grit. So you're gonna have to basically build it up to that, and then the blending area and where the clear coat is gonna go needs to be up to sanded by 1500 grit. But we'll get that to later. But right now we're just gonna concentrate on this. And another thing is, if this is your first time working, or you're just not very experienced at doing this kind of stuff, it's a very good idea to tape around this area. You want to tape off the area that you're going to be sanding, because if you don't tape it off, and let's say you're just sanding here, you don't pay attention, you're going like this, and then let's say this was painted, and then you scrape this with 80 grit. Okay, well then this has to be prepped now, and this is a process as you're about to see. And then if you get 60 grit on this, then this area needs to be sanded, and then your repair area is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so on this car, since we're going to be since this is really close to this to the next panel, we're going to have to blend this into the next panel. Okay, I was going to do it anyway because of the mismatched color that I showed earlier in the first video, but like if this was in the middle, you could get away with just blending it up to here on this side, and just before you get to the front fender, and you'd be okay with just doing one panel. But since this is kind of close to the edge and we have to blend this anyway, we're gonna have to blend this into this adjacent panel. Okay, so that's actually makes it more important to mask off your repair area, so your repair area doesn't keep growing, and then you don't run into trouble having to blend into other panels and clear coating those and then buffing it. So it's a lot of work, so it's very important. Again, we're gonna sand this down to bare metal, this area we got the dents in. Oh yeah, don't forget to wear a mask. And then in order to get to the bare metal, you're gonna have to do it at an angle because it's dented in, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, next to clean this area. And also something else you're gonna need is grease and wax remover. You can either buy these in a can, or they also sell them as wipes. And then just get some on a you can either use a 100% cotton towel or just these rags for this purpose are sufficient. Let me just wipe it down. Okay, so now it's time to start mixing our body filler and applying it. The stuff you can get at your local auto parts store is going to be probably called Bondo, which a lot of people just use that name as a reference to body filler, but it's not. It's just a type of body filler, I suppose the most famous one. But anyway, even if you get that off at the store, or in my case you have this that's been sitting for a long time, you need to mix it up because all the different chemicals started separating. By the way, don't forget to put on your mask because this is kind of stinky and it's probably not good for you anyway to breathe in. But anyway, you need to spend a lot of time, some time at least, to mix this up thoroughly. Okay, next it's time to mix our body filler, and you want to fix it on something like this, which is made for this, or on a piece of glass or something non-absorbent, like a piece of cardboard is not going to cut it because it's going to absorb some of the components, the chemicals that are mixed with this stuff, with your hardener and your body filler. And as a general rule of thumb is you'll need a 1 inch of body filler per golf ball size of Bondo. And obviously we're going to be using, we don't really need that much, so I'm just gonna assume that's about half a golf ball. And so basically, also don't forget to knead your hardener thoroughly. Whatever comes out of this needs to come out as a paste. You know, if this has been sitting around for a while, it's probably everything is separated, and you need to knead it. I've already done it, just doing it just to show you now, and just gonna add about half an inch of this to the side here. So just go like this, and what you want is to get everything to get consistency. That's what you're looking for. You want the color change to be consistent. That's when you know you're done. Try to do it the way I'm doing it. You know, don't do it in circles and stuff. Don't introduce air into your filler. Do firm strokes. But I think we're good now. So we got the same color throughout the body filler, and now we're ready to apply it. Okay, now we're gonna apply body filler to our dent here. Do not pay attention to what I'm doing here. That's different. That's kind of Mickey Mousing it. This is the correct way of doing it. Alright, so we got our body filler, and we're gonna run it across. Try to cover, well, this is where the deep area is, the low area is, but we're gonna try to cover wherever is showing bare metal. Because if you don't cover it with Bondo, you can either put Bondo or self-etching primer on it. So I don't have self-etching, that's why I guess I'm going to try to cover it with Bondo. But if you got self-etching primer, you can just concentrate on the dented area, and then spray the rest with self-etching primer, I guess. So yeah, you're going to do it in firm strokes. There we go. Try to clean up the edges, because if you don't, you're gonna have to sand it down. This is a small dent again, so it shouldn't be it's not gonna be a major problem, but still. I like to do it like this, so make sure I get all the air bubbles out. You might need to apply 2 or 3 coats of Bondo before you can call it done, so keep that in mind. On this, you might be able to get away with 1 because it's such a shallow dent, but I'm being a little obsessive now. But yeah, that's gonna we're just gonna let that sit and dry for about I don't know, I like to do it to let it sit for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we're gonna sand it, and then check for any low areas. If we got some low areas, I'm gonna show you how to check for them, and then also we're gonna add more body filler. Okay, now that our Bondo has dried, it's time to sand it down. We're gonna again use our hard block with a 180 grit, and you need to go over all the areas that you went over with the 80 grit. So it's going to be our radius for 180 grit. It's going to be this, and then as you go up the grits, your repair area is going to keep getting better. This is why I said if you haven't done this before, you should tape off your repair area to keep it small. But anyway, and again, we just sand this down. You can actually already see our low spot. There we go, right here. You know, there's another way of finding your low and high spots is we just spray some guide coat in this area. Obviously, again, make sure you tape it off. Then you spray the guide coat and then you sand it down. The areas that don't get sanded down, the guide coat is still visible, then that's obviously your low spots. And but we don't need to do that for this. This is fairly visible. Okay, here's to show you at a different angle. Maybe you can see better. This is our low spot here. Well, I don't know if you can see, but another way to tell is by touch, because when you sand these surrounding areas down with 180 grit, they're gonna just have a different texture. They're gonna be smoother, and this areas that you feel your finger, you just feel that it has a different texture, those are obviously haven't been sanded, and therefore probably your low areas. So what we're gonna do is mix up some Bondo and then apply it to the low areas. By the way, I think I need to explain this mark. This is just from when we were sanding it down. I guess the way I was pressing my block, it rubbed off here a little bit more. It could also be as a result of the dent. It pressed this part out, but it's not a major problem. It's not going to show in the finish. As you can see, it didn't go all the way through, and it's pretty minor, so nothing to worry about. Okay, now we sand again with the 180 grit. Yeah, our low spot is pretty much gone, and we've got some minor imperfections. Nothing but it's nothing that some primer and a little bit more sanding wouldn't get rid of. Okay. Also, you can always switch angles. You know, you want to do it at different 45-degree angles. Probably helps smooth out the surface. Also, another thing I need to mention is that if you have a high spot, like really bad, that like let's say you put filler here and then you sanded it down and then metal started showing around the edges, like it was that bad, what you would have to do is they sell hammer and dolly sets which are made for body work, and what you would have to do is tap those high spots slightly in, filler, sand it down, check for high and low spots. Keep doing that until it all evens out and you get some kind of something like this, okay? And so yeah, after you go with 180, I'm gonna go over with 220. To get rid of these small imperfections, you can also use glazing putty, which is something that comes in like a container, like our hardener was, which is a paste. Basically, you put a very thin layer of that over all the small imperfections and then you sand it down. In my experience, I've never had good luck using glazing putty. I've always preferred to do it with just body filler and primer. Just get better results that way. But that's just me. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that know how to use glazing putty to much more efficient than I can. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go over it with 220. Then we're gonna primer it, go over it with 220 again, then if need be, repeat that step one more time until we get a complete smooth surface without any pinholes or small imperfections in the finish. Okay, again, so you need to go over with 220 over all the scratches you made with the 180, so your repair area is gonna start growing.